Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Covering both sides of the big issues with the analysis you trust on News Radio 1040 WHO.
The big news in Iowa this month is the acceleration of COVID vaccinations. Everyone is very excited about that, getting ready to get back to normal life now. The caveat to all of this is people are wondering about the variants and if the vaccinations will be just as effective against them or how we will deal with the variants in the future. And let's talk this over with a healthcare specialist. Dave Johnson has two best-selling books, Market versus Medicine and The Customer Revolution in Healthcare. And Dave is on the Newsmaker line with me. So, Dave, let's talk about this. How will we in the future deal with these variants, and will we be able to keep up with them with so many people counting on these COVID vaccinations to return us back to normal life?
Well, Jeff, great to be with you. You're right. These new variants do pose a threat, and the vaccines currently out there, Pfizer, Moderna, and now J&J, while very effective overall, are not quite as effective against the new variants. The good news is that the technologies used to create these new types of vaccines can be modified relatively easily to address variants if need be. It won't happen overnight, but it can happen in fairly rapid order.
Dave, am I right in comparing this to what we're doing with the flu vaccine now? Will this be sort of the model for the future that will just adjust it as time goes on?
Yes and no. First off, your listeners should know that the ability to get these new vaccines in under a year with new technologies is the equivalent of going to the moon or the Manhattan Project. It's just a remarkable feat of collective scientific accomplishment. And so the new technologies, and it's complicated, but messenger RNA for Pfizer and Moderna and viral vector for J&J and AstraZeneca, which is the next vaccine likely to be approved, really do have this ability to adapt. So you're wrong in the sense that we can have very targeted responses for new variants as they come, but you're right in the fact that the annual flu shot will likely incorporate, in fact, not likely, will incorporate various types of coronavirus in the future. So yes and no on that question. Long answer, but complicated subject.
No, and I'm glad you gave the long answer, Dave, because, underpinning all of this discussion is the fact that people are wondering when they hear about variants if at some point the vaccinations are not as effective and we start to see a surge again in the virus. Is that possible? Or given what we've seen, and I absolutely agree with you, Dave, University of Iowa was instrumental in development of the Pfizer vaccine. Like, what we've seen has been unbelievable, an unbelievable accomplishment of science. So do we have reason to be worried in the future? Or are we seeing such amazing development in vaccination development that we'll be able to keep the virus under control?
Yeah, it really is an amazing accomplishment. The variants definitely pose a risk, and we've just seen a couple of states, Texas and Mississippi, in my opinion, prematurely pull away from the public health mandates before they have, enough herd immunity to offset the variants. So, Texas in particular is at a real risk of a new outbreak. But bigger picture, yeah, we have many more tools in our arsenal to address infectious disease. I mean, imagine where we'd be right now if we didn't have the vaccine. I mean, really scary to think about. So going forward, I think the future's bright in this respect, and we can use these technologies not only against infectious disease, but any type of virus or bacteria that attacks the body. So probably longer-term benefits for things like cancer as well.
Well, Dave, you're going right where I was going with our conversation. I appreciate that. You're the author of 2 best-selling books on healthcare. Just overall, big picture, based on what you've seen us do in the last year, what are the positive impacts on healthcare in the future?
Well, I think we could be at the beginning of the dawn of a new era in a type of precision medicine to attack viruses and other infectious agents as they come into the body. Our knowledge of how they work and developing ways to trigger the natural immune response of the human body, which is incredibly powerful, are much greater today than they were a year ago. So I think we should look at this very much as the beginning of a new age, not the end of it.
And Dave, just to sort of tee up a ball for you in the strike zone, but of course, what a lot of consumers are wondering is, am I going to be able to afford all of this new technology in the future? Is that a possible downside? You, of course, write about this all the time.
Right. In fact, most of what I talk about is how to fix the very broken American health system, but lately it's been all COVID and all vaccines all the time. But yeah, I mean, the big answer to your question is we spend almost 20% of our economy on healthcare, and it's not so much how much we spend, it's how we spend it. So if we can, over time, use or spend our healthcare dollars more wisely, I believe we can reduce the overall healthcare expenditure cost while improving the outcomes. So imagine a world where we spend less money for healthcare but have better outcomes. That will free up enormous resources to pay people more money, to invest in more productive industries, really to make life better for us all. So the answer is yes, we will be able to afford it, but no, we won't be able to afford it unless we start doing healthcare differently than we're currently doing it.
And Dave, that will be a future interview, I promise. You're right, all COVID all the time. But you and I need to get around to, this is a great teaser for our next interview about making it more affordable. Thanks for joining me today, though.